like, I don't think that was.
Everyone's been talking about it. What does it say so that I can just put on here? What's my code in? Because I'm like having.
I'm surprised it's in there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's like the.
Thank you very much.
I think you heard about that. Is that James?
I don't know. They
They
haven't been out like just one day. So, I know that's what I've been running.
I gotta take
I say that.
No, just.
I overheard that.
Mentioned music.
Right here? Don't worry about it. We just go, we don't take it out. You gotta.
Yes, those are correct. One was friends and then.
Property line. Damn it.
Yeah. At least when they all like, the other one has.
I gave quite a conversation.
No, he said just down there.
I don't know what we're talking about, but I
Music. I mean, that's mountains. Serious.
Sure, my shit's on. What's up for me, God? All right, everyone, it's 7 o'clock. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those who have computers, can you just mute? Mute already, because we're getting some feedback. There's. I think that worked.
Roll call, please. John Leo.
Here.
Nancy Rondell. Al Dyke.
Here.
Matt O'Gara.
Here.
And John Cops. Here. I believe Mr. Cops is the culprit.
Right?
I'm trying to figure that out.
You still have some feedback.
It's working on it.
Could be from me.
Yeah, Al and Bruce.
That better?
Oh, and the whiz kids are working on their machines.
I know.
Starting on citizens comment tonight.
The only thing I'd like to say is that the other day with the windstorms, we had the emergency manager, our emergency manager director, Joe Powell, opened up the agency, opened up some warming houses, stuff like that. If you had a chance to meet her, she's done a phenomenal job. So she got us going with that, and it was a good thing for our whole community. We're blessed to have it.
Yes.
And Joe McDonald.
I guess name and address.
Linda Rockwitz, 519 East Third Street. I almost added Butler Springs, Michigan. 49740. I really appreciated the hearing last Monday night. I learned a lot, mostly how much I don't know. But that's a start of something. This, hearing myself, yeah, that's okay. I like to hear myself. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we had the fund to cover the shortages that we were going to have, because I do understand that if costs go up and revenues don't, something has to be cut. So I really appreciate all that you've done and all you've tried to do to keep us going. And this is my annual meeting where I come and say, thank you for serving. Thank you for putting in all this hours.
Wait for the facial comes, right? Thank you.
It's so weird. Someone is on.
Anyone else for Backus?
Rebecca Backus, who lives on Summit. I also live in Harbor Springs. I was reading the, I guess, meeting minutes from last week. One of the things I noticed was on healthcare, you guys decided to go 100%. We're gonna pay the premiums. That was decided. Yes.
Actually, I think tonight.
Consent agenda, yep.
Okay, then I read after tonight. I was wondering if that includes the dependents, or is there any consideration 100% pay the premium for the employee and maybe percentage for the dependents? Is it cost savings? Like 80% for them, 80% for the employee?
Not under our current plan.
But we are looking at other plans. Just to give you a heads up, there's some new companies out there that I'm looking at right now. That hopefully there can be some. Anyone else for citizen comment?
Anna Mulder, Summit Street, Harbor Springs, 14740. This is way premature, but I talked to Rachel a little bit about it. Coming up in May, I think there's going to be the millage for the schools, right? And they're looking at doing some different things with Blackbird. And I think it would be wonderful if we could get into some preliminary talks about maybe a community center there, where there could be classes, events, who knows what else. Going to use part of the space for city things and then part of it for the daycare.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Good. Mr. Brown?
Bill Brown, also of Harbor Springs.
So Vanessa, I'll give a little more insight in that. I'm a member of the strategic planning committee for the school board. It's a 4-wing facility. 1 wing is for children, 1 wing is for infants, 2 other wings. We've been in discussions I have on the planning committee to make 1 wing something of a senior daycare, a place to go. And conceivably, the 4th wing could be used for the senior center for the citizens. It's a unique facility. It is going to be saved based on the preliminary budget that has been presented. And the vote will be no tax increase. It'll be a reduction by 0.2% or 0.2 mil. That's what's been proposed. You probably read it in the paper. If you didn't, that's what it is. It's a good plan. And they're pretty aggressive. They realize that they have a shrinking population and they're trying to right size the school system to accommodate that shrinking. I believe the number that was talked about in terms of actual students that live in the city of Harbor Springs, less than 7% of the 740 children actually live in the city. The rest are from the 5 surrounding townships. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Well, that could be another revenue sharing opportunity with the townships too.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyone on the computer there? Okay.
There are people on the computer. I don't see any raising their hand for comments.
Excellent. All right, so we can move on to the consent agenda.
Just make a couple comments. We received 1 correction from Councilmember Leo in the December 6th minutes, I believe. It was friends was spelled wrong, so that's corrected. In December 13th, I think Councilmember Rondell had some additions. Nick, if you want to explain those.
Yeah, on the 13th, there was when council made a motion to move money from the historical fund to the general fund. Councilwoman Rondell wanted me to add just a blurb in there. It says council realizes that this is a one-time fix to avoid cutting services, but recognize the fact that it's important to continue seeking out additional revenue options. That there was no other blatant errors brought to my attention.
Nope, and the only other error on item C of consent agenda was that we had April 19th as council meeting date, but it's really April 18th. 19th was a Tuesday. And then finally, the DDA changed their meeting dates. They decided that they're going to be meeting now on the 2nd Wednesday of the month instead of the 1st Thursday. So you'll see in that boards and commissions page that I have that edits there, that switched to the 2nd Wednesday of the month at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to the 1st.
Discussion on the consent agenda? Public comment? Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Leo,
Yes.
Al Dika,
Yes.
John Cox, Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
and Matt O'Gara.
Yes.
Motion carried.
On the discussion items, we're going to move the boards and commissions up into that section before we go into closed session.
If that's what you want to do, yeah. I think it might be better for the people who are.
Probably like it first. We could even do that.
Yeah, nope, yeah, we'll do that
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, we'll do boards and commissions first, and then get into the.
That's fine.
Okay.
Boards and commissions, the one recommendation that I had was we do them as one board at a time. And if council wants to, do one individual at a time, that's fine too. I think dealing with the boards in this order that are on the screen, the way you have them there is the best way to proceed. And then at the end, after we appoint all members to the boards, then we can talk about council roles on these boards if you want to. Keep the council members separate, first deal with these members. That's fine.
Do the citizens first.
Yeah.
We'll divvy up our work after that. Okay, well, the first one's the downtown development. And I get to nominate people. And you guys get to approve them. I would like to nominate Cora Ann Smith and Rocky Baydoun for both business owners in town. Cora was our new businesswoman of the year. Rocky seems pretty active.
We do have one position on the DDA open, but are you assuming that someone may resign?
Yes.
Okay. If they get appointed, so
Yeah,
maybe we appoint one now,
An alternate.
well, and wait till the other, how this discussion goes on the other boards to see.
Well, that's fine. Well, let's do Cora then. Would be my first choice.
I think it's a good choice. She's young, she's got a great new business down there and a lot of history in town and
Right, and she grew up here.
yeah, I think she'd be a good young person to do that.
Make a motion.
Yeah, I think we should do a motion for these.
Motion to appoint Cora Ann Smith to the EDA.
Second.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
Matt Bogira,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
and Al Dyke.
Yes.
All right. Tree board will be an easy one. Got one, Karen Stroh, and that's a reappointment, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. We still need one more volunteer for the tree board. Anybody out there?
Karen adds a lot to it. I'm on tree board with Karen and she does a lot, a whole lot.
Lucky to have her, our dwindling tree board. Okay, no further discussion. I'll make the motion to reappoint Karen to the tree board.
I'll second it.
Second,
I second it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll second it.
John Cox,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Al Dyke,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
Matt Bogira,
Yes.
motion carried.
Good. All right, the planning commission next. And I would like to reappoint Mr. Deegan.
Oh, good
Though he
job.
has a lousy track record of attendance. But until we, I think, getting through the master plan process, with them, keeping them as close as possible. Good thing.
Can I make a comment?
You
Is that
can.
okay? I'm hesitant. I commend Jack. He's done a great job. He's been on it a long time, but that's part of what I struggle with is he's been on it for 21 years. I understand we added meetings. I get what happened with his attendance, but we asked folks to be out there and put their names out, and I think we should really try hard to put some new folks on. That's just my feeling. 21 years on a committee is too long, actually.
I think he's priceless on that board. Leave him on as long as you can.
Going in this direction.
Well, to me, it's always the struggle between someone who's been on for a long time and has the experience and has participated versus the value of bringing in new blood. And over time, you know, they'll either work and do a great job, but just like Jack has done, or they won't, and they won't be reappointed. So I would be in favor of new blood.
Our choices. Best of them. Yes, on the planning commission, I would think Bob Toma would be a good choice. Bob served on it quite a bit.
ZBA.
Bob has been on
He's been on
ZBA.
ZBA.
He would be my recommendation. I think he did a really good job on ZBA. Then he moved out of town, dropped off, and now he's back in town. But he would bring his experience in town and on the ZBA to the planning commission.
Right, we can bring in some real new blood with Rachel Moore for.
Yeah.
Or Mark Randall. I agree, Jackson.
Doing a great job.
We're trying to get some new blood in there. I mean, might be worth giving him a year off and going with FOMA or over the other choices.
We need a resident, right? Because Jack's a resident.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's gotta be a
Yeah,
resident coming out.
Yes, I've got Deegan, Rondell, and Toma were my choices. Well, let's try this. I'll make a motion to appoint or reappoint Jack Deegan.
I'll second.
Let's go through this and then we'll see what happens.
Throw it out.
John Cups,
We don't know.
John Leo,
No.
Nancy Rendell,
No,
Matt Bogira,
Yes.
and Al Dyke.
Yes.
Motion failed.
Okay. And I'd like to make a motion to appoint Bob Toma to the planning.
I'll second that.
Okay, Nancy Rendell,
yes,
John Leo,
Yes.
Al Dyke,
Yes.
John Cups,
Yes.
Matt Bogira.
Yeah.
Motion carried.
All right, the Harbor Commission. Lots of people on that commission.
And this is a board where council as a
Council does it as a group. Nancy, you
You're
got the
looking
most
at me.
opinions
I do-
about
I
the
do have
Harbor
opinions
Commission? Why
about
don't you go first?
I have opinions about all of them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really dedicated to getting new blood on these, that across the board. I mean, that's one of my things. Harbor Commission is a commission that had a lot of people on for a really long time. So I'll just put out the slate that I'm thinking about. Is that a good thing to do, Matt?
Sure.
Okay. I would put Carol Winard, Lisa Nickel, Chip Everest, Bill Brown, and John Baker. They are, 4 of them are residents. And John Baker lives in West or
Twice.
West. We have some residents going off, potentially going off, and also some folks that aren't. So that's what I would put out there.
Okay. Is it allowable for us to each individually put our picks out there and then tally up the total and
However you guys want to do it, it's your process.
that sound agreeable? You do your 5, you do your 5, I'll do my 5.
I like that. That way it's kind of mathematical.
I don't have mine with me, so I'm gonna have to, I'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
I just find that.
Al, do you have 5 choices?
I'd reappoint all of them.
That would be McCullough,
Rockwoods,
Rockwood.
Flicker Reagan, and Tim Fletcher Rice, but we still do have one
And we have
open,
one.
and one open.
Need one more.
because Dick Schiller said he's not seeking reappointment.
Greg Fisher.
So we keep a track here.
I'm keeping track.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right.
Got quite a few things going on over here. It's about like-
Not easy.
John, you ready?
Bill Brown, Carol Leonard, Chip Everest, John Baker, and Lisa Nickel.
Still doing good, John? Yeah, fine. Okay, I'd like Bill McCullough, Chip Evers, Greg Fisher, John Baker, and Sharon Mahalik.
I had all that you had except the last one.
Sharon Mahalik. Gotta pick one more.
But I haven't yet. Is Bill in that?
Joe Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, number 2.
Will Bill Brown. We'll give it. Want a friend?
Is that Bill Bryan's name?
Final answer?
Okay, so, there's no one person who's on all 5 favored, but John Baker was by 4. 4 who had John Baker, so. Greg Fisher had 3. Bill Brown had 3 as well. Chip Evers had 3. And the rest are, 2. Or 1.
Who's the 2 twos?
The 2 twos, Carol Leonard, Lisa Nickel, and then McCullough had 2. Oh, sorry, yep, McCullough had 2, and then the ones are all other ones that are reappointed, Flicker Reagan, Fred Rockwitz, and Tim Fletcher Rice.
All right.
So Carol Leonard, Lisa Nickel, and McCullough.
Well, I like-
I'll vote for McCullough.
I know.
I'd like to see, if I had to pick, I would ask to put Carol on. She's here all the time, which I think is good. She's a representative of the kayak folks as opposed to the big boats, which I think is good. No, I think it's really good. I think there's a huge element of that in the harbor that we don't talk about though. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, Mr. Cox.
I'd probably go with McCullough. I don't know either one of them very well.
That's my problem.
So Bill's been on it
He's been on it for
30
34
some
years.
years. Long time resident, big boater guy. He's very passionate about it.
Who's still how big is that board?
9 plus the mayor's designee.
Putting 5 new ones on it?
There's 8 plus in there, right?
9.
9 total.
Yeah. So it is 9 plus the mayor's designee, so there's 10
So
total.
there's 10. Can you say who's on it, Victor? for
Yep, we have Jim Bartlett, Bill McCullough, Dick Schiller, Flicka Reagan, Tim Fletcher Rice, Fred Rockwitz. We also have Jeff James as the mayor designee. We have,
Alpaca.
uh,
Oh, you're off.
he's on planning commission.
I got booted off.
Laura Coors.
Jeff gonna stay?
So if we had
Laura Coors.
the same, if we took the 4 that we voted, that we have the most numbers, so.
Yep.
Then the folks still that would be left on are JB's on, because he's not up for reelection, and Laura Coors isn't up.
JB.
And Al's on.
Laura-
No, I'm not.
Nah, I keep doing that. How come? I can't
I'm on the
imagine.
planning
I know. So who, Laura and JB,
Tom Graham.
Graham, Karen, Stroh, who's on. Rex, and Jeff
That would be
James.
4. Yep, and then Jeff James is the
Yeah.
mayor designee.
So that's the 5 that are already, that are staying on. Plus, these 4 plus 1.
I think we should stick with McCullough. I mean, I'm all for putting new people on, but that's, because there's a lot going on down there. We probably should keep some experience.
How many votes does Bill have?
Bill McCullough, 2, so does Carol, so does Lisa.
So let's narrow this down, I guess. We've got John Baker as a shoe-in because with 4 votes. Bill Brown and Chip Everest both have 3, which is the majority of the board,
And so does Greg Fisher.
and Greg
So we're
Fisher.
just looking for one more.
So we need one more.
So we just need one more.
Draw straws,
Come on.
draw straws, roll the dice.
I think at this point it would be if someone wants to make a motion with the 4 plus one of their ones and take a vote
Right.
on that. So if someone wants to make a motion for Carol or Bill or Lisa.
I'll make a motion for the 4 plus Bill McCullough.
Second.
Okay, John Cups,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell,
No.
Don Leo,
Yes.
Matt O'Gara,
Yes.
and Al Dyka.
Yes.
We have John Baker, Bill Brown, Chip Everest, Greg Fisher, and Bill McCullough reappointed collectively to the Harbor Commission.
Okay.
Parks.
Parks,
This is, we're looking for 4 members plus a council member, but we'll talk about council afterwards.
right. Okay,
This is the mayor's
this is the mayor's picks.
This is your deal.
council.
It's all our deal. You have to approve me. Susan Clark, Scott Reeves, Dana Mulder, and Allison Larson would be my 4. I'd like to make a motion to appoint those 4.
I'll second
Another 10. Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
it. Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Matt O'Gara,
Yes.
John Cups.
No.
Motion carried anyway, John.
What's it? You get your chance. You and Nancy have to arm us over the, being the council member.
Mr. Mayor, who was that? Who was the 4th person?
Allison Larson.
Oh, sorry, it's not on the screen. I don't know why the name's up there.
All right.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Is it too late to make a speech?
Probably.
I was able to take notes on it. I'm kidding.
Well, if it's okay, I'm Karen Stroud, Donnelly, 644 Ann Street, Harper Springs, 9740 in Michigan. Anyway, I had put in my application to be on the Parks Board. I know that there's been limits as to how many boards that any citizen can serve on. And I have been on, the Harbor Commission and the Tree Board. My experience, my background has all been about outdoor recreation and parks. I'm in the outdoor business as a sales rep. I have a lot of contacts around the state and in Michigan, in Lansing. I know we talked about it together, Rachel and I. So I was really hoping that I could make a contribution by being in the park board just because of my knowledge base and my experience base. It's something that I'm passionate about. And if I had to give up one board, I would give up the tree board because I just know that much more about outdoors. So I don't know if it's too late, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. I know you've all had a chance to look at my application and my experience. And I would really love to be able to serve on that board if I could.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think something that too on the Parks Board, two of them are one-year terms, right? I mean, yes, they are.
So we'll have to decide which
So-
two to be 1
I
year.
was gonna say too, Karen, you know, since you're fairly new on Harbor Commission also, that's a big committee also. A couple of these are one-year terms in order to get everybody into 2-year sync. So that would certainly be a possibility, I would think, down the road. Because I know you have a lot of really good connections. I also know we really need you on tree board. I mean, we do, we really do need some strong people on tree board, and Harbor Commission is a big job too.
I don't know as much about trees as I do about
I know nothing
outdoor.
about trees. So,
So if given one or the other, it's not that I haven't enjoyed my experience in the tree board, it's been
Yeah.
awesome, but
Do we want to rethink it, or are we happy with our results? We're good.
I'm comfortable if we want to do an alternate or next year with a one-year term coming up. After she's been on Harbor Commission for a little while, I think that might be a better way to.
I guess my only comment would be, because I was gonna bring this up if we got into discussion anyways, because Dana's kind of under the same thing. She's on a bunch of boards.
She's gonna resign from one.
Okay, that would be my suggestion,
Right.
just because of that, so.
Pardon? He picked 40.
So, I mean, good, it just, sitting on too many boards,
It isn't, yeah.
so. that's-
Well, and we have folks that want to be on them.
Right.
We have a lot of folks that want to be on the
Yeah,
board.
All
so,
right, so we'll stand with those.
Yeah, so let's just decide which two to be 1 year terms and which two to be 2 year terms. Susan Clark, Scott Reeves, Dana Mulder, Allison Larson.
To, Susan Clark and Allison Larson.
For 1 year.
Work out.
For one-year terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't need to do
I guess if everybody's in agreement, we've got a motion to put them on the board, I would say. Let's just do a roll call.
it. All right.
John Leo,
Yes.
John Cubs,
yes.
Matt Bogira,
Yeah.
Nancy Rondell,
Yeah.
Al Dyka.
Yes.
All right. Zoning, everyone's favorite project.
We have two positions open for that. Current members were Fred Simon and Kim Morris.
Council decision. Well, I'd like to see, or I think that this board especially needs some consistency because it's a legislative board to actually protect the city. So I'd like to see some people with some previous experience. So you've got Thelma, Morris, and Simons are three experienced people. So any two of those three would be my choices.
We put Tom on planning.
Yeah, with Tom on planning, you can't.
Well, he technically can.
You can.
One planning commission member can be on the ZBA, and that's in the planning commission bylaws.
And I would make a motion to appoint Bob Toma and Kim Morris.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
And who was the second candidate?
Kim Morris, she's coming, me.
She's gonna
She can go back on.
Okay, Matt Bogira,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell, and John Cubs.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Right. And the big one, the sewer authority. We've only got one volunteer, Mr. LaMarche.
I would make a motion to appoint Mr. Lamarche to the sewer authority.
Can we also add to that to reappoint Matt, Mayor, and Nick? You guys still want to serve?
I
You
know.
guys haven't been reappointed since I've been here. It's 2 year terms.
Should be the new chair.
I'll second that with that correction.
As amended, yeah.
So
It's a fascinating board. I learned more about the region
It really is.
Yeah.
I sit in on the meetings and it is something I knew nothing about, and it's way more complicated than I thought.
It's a much bigger portion of our city workings than what anybody realizes.
Yeah, I'd like to see, would have liked to see someone with some more engineering or mechanical background apply for that job. We aren't lucky enough, so.
But we do have a motion in a second to appoint David LaMarche and reinstate Mayor and myself to the board. And I'll do another roll call. John Cubs.
Yep.
John Leo.
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
Al Dyke.
Yes.
Matt O'Meara.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Then we were gonna talk about,
Oh, council,
no, about Dan, the.
Oh, he resigned.
Right?
Would you like to resign from the DDA?
Only if you'd like me to. It's a tough one.
Yeah. So that would, with the parks, that'd put you at 3, so scale you
I'm
down
at
to
I'm
2.
at 3 right now, but I understand too that if there's other people that want to be on that, that would be okay too.
Is that all right with everyone? I'll make a motion that we replace Dana with Rocky. We do.
Second.
John Leo.
Yes.
John Cubs.
Yes.
Matt O'Meara.
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
And Al Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carried.
now council members.
Now, Councilman.
We have the new position on parks, but there's also an opportunity to see if councils who are currently serving on certain boards want to switch up boards, or are you happy with the boards that you're on right now? So that's,
I'm just learning how to do planning commission. All right.
John Cubs is the only one not on a board.
And I want to do the parks.
So, the sewer board, that's all I want to do.
And
And
you
the DPA, can't forget that one. All right, John, Nancy, get out there and arm wrestle.
I'm not gonna arm wrestle. John wants to, no, seriously, I think if he really, I'm on tree, and if he really wants to do it, make the time to do it.
I'm pretty passionate with the parks right
Yeah.
here, so
And
I'd
that's
like to do that.
good.
Do we need a motion on that or just?
Yeah, you don't need a roll call. You just-
No, just by consensus, I think.
By consensus, do we want Mr. Cups to be our
Sure.
man?
Yep.
Or
Parks.
you're in the parks guy. Everyone else happy with their positions in the world?
I am.
Are we talking here or just in general?
We can have a long discussion about that.
That'd be a lot longer conversation.
All right.
Good.
Nicely done. Too long?
No, I'll just follow up since we're at boards and commissions with the RRC committee membership update. Superintendent Michael Berman just has too many conflicts. He just won't be able to serve on the committee anymore. And Harbor Commission, well, Fred Rockwitz was a representative, and he didn't feel, and I talked to JB about this, that there's really a good spot for a Harbor Commission member to be on the RRC because they didn't think there was a lot of relevance. It was more of a planning, zoning, DDA thing. However, there are some RRC things that do involve marketing and public participation, which spans across all boards. So I don't know if you still want me to ask Harbor Commission to send a representative.
As far as the schools or somebody else from the school system
I can ask Michael if,
that'd be interested.
Maybe a board member or something.
Right.
I think there'd be a lot of value in having a representative from the school.
and this is like a working committee, so it's not an official board, but it's still, we wanted to get a scope when we first started this scope of, a wide variety of people from the public. And we also don't have a public participant for that, so might want to advertise for that again.
Yeah.
Just because it's been a while since we,
We put it to
What
bed.
is the RRC?
it's a redevelopment ready community committee, and that really enables us to be able to apply for grants for the Michigan Economic MEDC. It also engages city in best practices. So do we have access to documents on our website, or do we have plans for like a capital improvements plan, public participation plan? So there's a lot of work to it, but we meet once a month. Right now, it's the second or third,
The second Friday of the month at 10 a.m.
second Friday of the month at 10 a.m.
So we would advertise for it on the website and in the paper.
Yep. Do you still like me to ask the Harbor Commission if they want to send a representative, or are you fine with?
May I ask them?
You can ask if JB is,
I don't
he
think we're
doesn't
gonna-
think
I
it's
mean-
of value. I doubt we'll.
Ask one more time. Fudge our way through it, ask questions if we need to.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Brown?
One quick question for Victor, speaking only for myself, and I'm sure other people would benefit. Would you be sure to send the bylaws for each new member for each of the boards, authorities, and commissions? Electronically would be fine. Most current would be even better.
You haven't memorized them?
I actually have read everything. I don't have enough.
Okay, I'll send them.
Just I did.
Yeah, the bylaws have been revised in the past couple of years a few times, so I'll do that.
Thank you.
And usually Jeff and we usually have a orientation with each member, so we'll do that as well.
I like the train wreck.
Okay.
Sandwich.
Yes, curious. All right, moving on, I guess, if there's no other discussion there, it's a discussion item. So item A is approval of the capital improvements plan. So let me get there. Of course, we reviewed this at the December 6th meeting, kind of had some discussion of parts of it at the December 13th budget hearing. Now it just needs an official approval, unless there's more discussion about items on the capital improvements plan.
I have a question. Who authors this plan? Who put it together?
So I put it together with input from the department heads. So the way the process works is in September, I put out a call to department heads for all projects they anticipate need to happen in the next 6 years. They give me those, I compile those in a sheet for them to score. So then they review and rank the projects as a matter of importance. And then I put that in those tables that you see, and then I add the narrative and the text and the graphs and stuff, and then bring it to council. Well, first I bring it to planning commission for planning commission approval.
It all seemed like it was crunched into the end of the year to me. And I think it would have been a good idea for the council to see it and have opportunities to discuss it more than a meeting before we start voting on things. Because there are some things in there that I don't like. But most of the things for the big departments are fine, but a lot of the fluff that's in there that has big dollar signs on it, I don't think it needs to be in there. And I think if we had a chance as a group to discuss some of these things, maybe our future wouldn't look so bad.
I can respond to that. There's,
Go ahead.
you had an opportunity to discuss today and December 6th and December 13th. The Planning Commission reviewed it. You were on the Planning Commission, so I think there's a lot of time. I get by doing it earlier, but I don't agree with the fact that you say there wasn't really an opportunity to discuss it, because it's been on the table for a month and a half. I emailed it to you back in early November.
One thing given, for next year, I just think we ought to make a note about the boardwalk. That if we do come up with funds, we do get some stuff together, that's still kind of our priority to get taken care of, even if maybe it had to jump ahead of something that we've already got. Or in place. Make a note, I don't think if don't think we should wait for another year or two on that. Given everything that's going on around the whole buzz about it, so there's.
Well, we do the CIP every year, right?
Yeah, we do the CIP.
And we're only
So it's
committing
kind of a changing document.
Right, right.
And
It's
just-
just, but it's labeled way down the
It's in
road, given
2024,
what's going,
yeah,
yeah,
'cause
given
of the
what's
funding.
going on, I think if we're able to, I know Rachel's
Rachel's forward.
reached
That's a
out
good
to
point.
another engineering company. I mean, there's some things, in the works. So if this is a possibility with this other group fundraising, that if we can make it happen next year, we should definitely.
How long do we have to spend the grant money if we get the grant?
We have 2 years, I think, right, Rachel, from if we get the grant?
I want to say it's 2026.
Oh,
Might be 20, you might be right though, maybe 2024, I'd have to look.
2026 is the,
I was thinking it was 2 years. That's what I had in my head.
We're talking about for the boardwalk?
yeah,
Oh, then 2020, you're right, yeah, sorry.
2 years, yeah.
But that's how long we have. To John's point, it's given that it's a priority. Be aware if we get the budget, the grant to try to move it forward.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done with the CIP, I think we're good. I just think we need to keep in mind that.
If we get the
That
money,
boardwalk's,
yeah.
Priority, something
If we get it,
transpires, we
yeah.
should.
if we get the money, we'll do it this year. If we don't, the realistic expectations were at that time when we put this together, this grant wasn't available, so.
Right.
But we didn't know about the grant, so
But the point is well taken. I think it's a priority.
it is.
But in Al's case, I mean, I wouldn't disagree, if we could maybe get this out, like maybe in October. I mean, I know this year things have been kind of crazy, but it would give us a little more time to kind of talk about a few issues. Usually it's kind of a rubber stamp, but lately, we've been having some things, so.
And maybe put it out to the public too, to comment, because I've been getting comments and you just speak to my own presentation of things that are in there. And I think that if the community knew what was in there, I don't think they saw it.
I put it on the homepage, middle of November,
But where?
on the homepage, in the middle of November as a blog
I don't
post.
think that's where everybody's getting their information in town. I mean, you depend on that a lot, but not all of us are as young as you or as computer literate as you. And I think that there are a lot of people in this town that don't get their information on the internet. So I'm thinking more Harbor-like discussion, something like that, the more traditional ways.
Well, they have to access it only through internet or get a physical copy from here. So I mean, you could put it in the Harbor Light, but I mean, all I'm saying is the actual document was there. It's on the homepage. Physical copies that were available or are available at City Hall. It's on the agenda. I'm not disagreeing if there's different ways to put it out there. I think it was out there for a while.
When the package was made available on the website, did we notify the public about its availability in the newspaper?
No.
Well, then that's an opportunity to get the word out
Yeah,
and
that would
include
help.
in that saying, and if you don't have electronic access, come to City Hall, we'll give you a paper copy. Yeah. We do want to be transparent. Not everybody relies on the internet as much as some people do. So I think it's an improvement to the process.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the capital improvement plan with an earlier published date next year. And so more transparency.
I'll second.
Covered it all.
I've been listening.
Nancy Rondell,
Yes.
Al Dyke,
Yes.
Matt Bogira,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
John Cox.
Yes.
3B, approval of electric rate design. We had Michael Johnson and Mark Beauchamp from our UFS Utility Financial System give a couple presentations on the rate design back in November and December. And so you had an opportunity to look at the proposed rate design, which is attached again here, which includes a 3.3% overall increase over the next 3 years for electric rates. And so that is what we're seeking approval for 3.3% or approval of this electric rate design with the percentage increases under each class.
Dog gets treats.
And just for the record, the last rate adjustment was in
Electric, it's been a while. I don't know if you remember,
07.
96, I think. Somewhere in there.
1996. I would make a motion to approve the rate plan as proposed.
I'll second that.
Matt Boudreaux,
Yes.
Al Dika,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
John Cobbs,
Yes.
Nancy Rundell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item 3C is proposed 2022 and amended 2021 budget adoption. I gave Councilmember Leo had asked for a sheet with the updates to our budget. So I left this sheet on the council packet, which shows how we adjusted the budget based on the public feedback we got and council's feedback. Clerk Whitaker made several adjustments to social security line items throughout the different general fund expense line items from city manager to city clerk, city treasurer, police, et cetera. So you see those there. There was a transfer from the historical fund of $125,000 from the reserves there into the general fund. We put back $29,000 for brush and refuse pickup, as well as $46,000 for leaf pickup. Added $45,000 back to the beach operations. We took out $15,000 in transfer out, which we normally give to the historical fund. So we took away that transfer because there's no point of transferring money back to the historical fund when we're taking from it. And we also did the same in the historical fund. We showed $125,000 transfer out to the general fund. As well, under the police line item, there was some of the capital outlays were not included. I think Nick missed this as a capital contributed fund or contributed funds, right?
Yes, the police department has funds that are contributed by private sources that they are for certain things. And I think it was what, tasers and uniforms needed to go in the capital outlay line. Those are funds that are being budgeted for because the money's been donated to the city, but they are earmarked for police expenditures. So
Was that a move from expense to capital?
no, rather than being expensed in supplies or something like that, it became a capital outlay item contributed down at the bottom, meaning it's a capital outlay contributed funds from an outside source.
So that leaves us with an overall operating surplus of about $8,000, so $7,000 more than we had in our draft budget that we proposed 2 weeks ago. But that's, of course, because we transferred the money from the historical funds.
Right. Discussion?
No, I was pleased with what he did.
Sounds like they made the changes we requested. I would make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Matt Boudreaux,
Yes.
John Cobbs, Al Dika,
Yes.
Nancy Rundell,
Yes.
and John Leo.
Yes.
3D, school resources officer position. So many of you probably have seen this in the news already, but the school district approached Chief Knight, and I'll speak in a little bit about supplying them with a full-time police officer as a school resources officer at the school, given the light of the nature of what's been happening around the country and even locally here with threats at schools and that sort of thing. So they offered to pay for the most of the money for the resource officer position, which would be about, they offer 75%. We would be contributing 25% to that position because the position would be 3 months summertime officer here as well as 9 months at the school. So we would obviously be utilizing that officer in the summer here. The funding for that position is not going to be any additional funding from our budget. It would be taken, we'd be taking away part-time officer salaries as well as marine enforcement salary because this police officer would be involved in marine enforcement. So Kyle, if you want to elaborate on your discussions with the school and this position.
So I was approached by Mr. Bierman. This isn't something I went out and saw. We had an incident in our schools 2 weeks ago Wednesday. And so that night he called me and said, hey, he was approached by a couple of the school board members that they were interested in a school resource officer. Nothing I really, I mean, I felt like when he first called me, we talked about it, I was like, aren't we doing a good enough job? That was I took it personal. And then he's like, no, we just like to have that relationship. We are in the schools a lot as it currently stands, but the guys all rotate. And so like for me to send somebody to a school resource officer training school, it's going to be a hit or miss of what that 6 months or 6 weeks are going to be in there. This would allow us to permanently train somebody for like a curriculum type based programs that we could, like DARE used to be, is called Team Now, or some type of program that we could interact with young kids. There's other programs that we can interact with the high school kids so that we can present programs on a continuous basis. Plus we could have this officer up there all the time. When I talked to Mr. Bierman, he was approached by, like I said, a couple of school board members. Funding is my big issue here. I am, and talked to Victor on one side last Monday, we're talking about cutting things, and on my side, I'm trying to add an officer. You know, call basis, I can, like I said 2 years ago, our call basis, we're up a little bit from where we were when I first started 17, but this would just allow us to put somebody in schools all the time. And then when they talked about how we split it, the 75-25 makes sense because we're picking up 25%. When you go back and I tell you how many times I've tried to get a part-time officer in here, an additional one, I can't get anybody to apply. And if I do, it's somebody that doesn't want, that's not being hired by somebody else. So they're going to be, I don't want to be but a problem child somewhere. Or if they're a good officer, they're going to be hired by somebody else in a heartbeat. This allows me to, because Lyle does a good job of part-time right now, but I don't know when he'll retire, but he's going to retire, I would say not in the near future. And this allows me to not worry about that, get somebody down here permanently in the summer and in the schools in the winter, the school year. And then the thing that, I know like the harbor commissioner, somebody, when I take that money, we were allocated $20,000 in the marine law enforcement line item. I figured that if I took roughly $6,000 to pay for that person to go out and patrol in the patrol boat, walk down the marina, that's a fair wash to take just part of that money. That also that's where Dean's money comes as well, out of the marine patrol. So it's not like I'm taking all the funds out of that. It's paid Lyle work down there in the summer, and we took his funds. We took the funds out of that marine law enforcement to pay for his wages during the summer, if that makes sense. So I think it's a win-win. I've been in conversation, the school board's behind it. A couple things, there's grants hopefully that are going to come out that might alleviate our cost altogether. If there's any grants that come available, both on both ends, the school end or on the law enforcement side, and it might come both ways, that I will apply for every grant we can possibly get. And then when I talked to Michael about training, I put in my letter that we would pay for the training, and he said if it's something like school-based, that they might be able to help out with the training of that or the expense of that as well. So I don't think that sort of went wrong, but I didn't 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I never saw this coming. It's all of a sudden, here we are talking about cutting things. I feel like the guys do a good job. We're in that jet. I got a good group of guys. We're in the schools a lot, but this gives us the opportunity to put somebody in it permanently. But I'm open to any feedback or suggestions.
So the request today is not to necessarily approve the position, it's to give us, I guess, the chief knight the authority to continue negotiating a contract for that position. Then we'll bring that contract to council for approval.
And my son-in-law is he's a school resource officer in Petoskey right now. And I know that he's working very hard. They have a lot more knock on wood threats over there than we do, but he's in there, he's building a relationship with the kids. And it seems to be going very well. I was a school resource officer when they first started 25 years ago down in St. John's. So I can relate. I was in the middle school and then at an elementary school assigned to me. And you build that relationships that continue on and, help. I think in the future, it's sort of funny because I ran into one of the kids when I was in middle school. at down at the restaurant the other day. When I walked in middle school, he used to go when it was funny for him at that time. But we created a relationship, and I sort of friended him. And I saw him at a restaurant not too long ago, and he apologized. He said, "You know, you're the best cop I've ever known." And that started back in the 7th grade. So I think it's a win. That's my personal feeling, but I know money's not growing on a tree here, so whatever you say.
Chief, you said that there might be grants available. Is that specifically for?
SROs, yes. It passed the House or the Senate. It's going to the other one, but there's a lot of a give and take yet to be done. But I know they're based on what happened in Oxford, and that they're trying to get some grants available.
Well, sadly, yeah.
And I will, like I said, there's an opportunity we might want to talk about because they might come from the school side of it too.
I think it's a good plan. It's very solid. I like to see the city and the school working together like this. I think it's great.
I agree, man. I think it's sad.
a good thing.
You have to do it. 100%.
All right, so I think by consensus that we'll just go forward with that.
Does anybody have any questions?
What are you gonna pick?
My plan is that this, which I think I talk to Michael all the time, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post it internally for the 5 guys that I have right now. And if one of them wants it, then I'm gonna, or 1 or 2 will have an interview panel, Michael and I will sit down, we'll interview them, we'll pick the best candidate. If nobody internally wants it, but I think there are people, then I will post that position externally. Because if internally I have to backfill that position, if it's externally, then I will interview a person for that position to try to get, it's gonna have to be a fit. Like somebody, I can't hire, somebody's gonna have to fit into that school.
Right.
I think that's a good approach. Great.
Thank you for your support. Like I said, 3 weeks ago, I never saw this coming, and here we are, but I guess a win-win. Thank you.
All right, item 3E is short-term rental ordinance and process recommendations. I told council that I would be back here by end of December with some updates, and just with the busy budget season, I haven't been able to finalize that. Jeff Grimm, our zoning administrator, has given me a lot of information, and we talked about it a couple times. So I think by January, I'll be able to have actual things for you guys to approve, to look at, review, and approve. But this meeting, I am recommending, based on those the amount of work we're gonna have to be doing going forward with this short-term rentals, such as a potential good host pamphlet, good neighbor pamphlet, changing enforcement process and procedures that we're gonna be recommending. We need to raise the short-term rental fee. Right now it's at $250. That covers our subscription with Amari to monitor short-term rentals as well as current staff time. But since we'll be increasing staff time and resources with printing these documents, I did some calculations there. Probably about $100 per application increase based on the number of applications we saw this year, which was a little over 60. That would give us an extra $6,000 or so to operate with, and that would cover most of our costs, or should cover all of our costs, increased costs. So I guess right now I'd recommend raising that rate because what I don't want to happen is we're gonna have to do this work eventually next year, but someone applies in January, at the $250 rate, but then, February or March, we're doing all this work and making other people pay more. It just wouldn't be fair. So I think.
And by law, we can't raise this a little more to actually
So the law
more than
states
just cover cost.
in Bolt v, and I put that in here in the State Supreme Court, Bolt v. City of Lansing. It says that a fee is valid if it exchanged for a service rendered or a benefit conferred, and there's some sort of reasonable relationship between the amount of the fee and the value of the services provided. So, what is reasonable? This is my definition of reasonable, covering the amount of work that we put into it. But, council and others might have a different, I don't know, Jim, if you think a little differently there.
No, I think, any relationship between the amount of effort and administrative expenses put in would be defined by a court as reasonable. So I think he's put a sufficient basis in. It's a little bit, it's loose, as you can tell by the Supreme Court decision, some kind of a reasonable relationship. It's kind of vague, but I think Victor has handled it well here in his recommendation.
So it covers our costs. Yeah, I was just wondering if we should go a little bit more, to make sure we're covered and have a little bit of a what if.
I mean, there's a lot of work to be done to evolve to the next level. To me, the number also felt low. Because I think the actual costs, 250 times the number of applications. If you're sure it's gonna cover costs, again, it seemed light to me.
It felt low to our zoning administrator based on work he thinks we might have to do next year. I'm just anticipating, that's my best guess. I don't know how much work we might not, have a lot of issues next year. And I have to do
Favoring-
very much enforcement, so I don't know.
To the plus side, I mean, if we made this $400 instead of $350, does that seem still within the reasonable?
To cover contingencies and what's happening in the world, yes, I think it's
I
very.
was thinking 500, so that's eminently reasonable.
Well, I make a motion, pending Victor's information here, but I would raise the rate to 400, not 350.
I'll second that.
Before we vote, public comment?
Yeah, I just had a question. I know in the previous meetings I've attended, sorry, that the revenue has been a real issue for the city. And I'm just wondering, I mean, hotels charge certain fees for I don't know exactly how they classify them. But in a way, these Airbnbs and VRBOs are really no different than hotels in my mind. Is there something that says the city itself cannot assess a certain tax or fee on those as a way to increase revenue?
I don't think, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the ability to tax.
I don't know. I know there is some sort of tax. I know they do it quite a bit out west. But I'm not positive if there's a use tax, a sales tax, a rental fee. I'm not positive what the legalities are.
I think it has to be done at the county level.
I think when we looked last time, the county.
That's what I remember. We kind of looked at it and it had to go through the county. But it's a good question and it certainly should be, revenue related to rentals is certainly on the list of things that need to be looked at.
Do you have any idea if there's any kind of concerted effort within the county of Emmett to do something like that? I mean, obviously Harbor is not the only place that is experiencing this situation.
I think from what I can gather in conversations that every community that is dealing with this is looking at these same questions and looking for answers. And I don't know that there's been a lot of direction from the county for the simple fact that there's still legislation at the state level that everybody's not sure what's going to happen, but
I haven't heard of anything from the county on that front.
Back to reading everything, Nick's comment notwithstanding, the state would love to have the record of everybody that's renting, to make sure that they're paying proper income tax on the business venture. And that's part of the legislation as it progresses. So our records that we may charge for, if the individuals are renting, the state's going to want to see proof of filing for that income, because there's a tax revenue issue. I don't know that that's going to pass, but that's part of it.
It's part of the bill.
Are you anticipating that Jeff then would do these increased duties that we're foreseeing for this next year?
You repeat that?
Are you anticipating that Jeff Grimm will continue doing?
Sorry, yes, I do think that both myself, Jeff, city clerk, and even the police officers will probably see some increased duties related to short-term rentals.
As a city, or who is lobbying on our behalf to the state and the state legislature to?
So I've had conversations with our representative, and I've emailed our state senator. The Michigan Municipal League, though, lobbies on behalf of local municipalities, and they are lobbying very hard to keep the power to regulate short-term rentals within local control.
Oh, okay.
So we are a member of the MML, and they lobby on behalf of us.
Okay, that's good to know.
Did you just post the survey?
Yeah, and the MML just created a survey. 5-question survey asking about the community's feedback on what they think about the short-term rental situation. And I put that on social media and I distributed it to some people by email. So I have that link. It's a Survey Monkey survey. So
I think it would help to get the word out about that survey.
Paper.
Yeah. I do have a motion and a second on the table.
Increase the rate.
Providing discussion's done.
Roll.
All right, John Cox,
Yes.
Al Dyke,
Yes.
Nancy Randall,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
Michael Guerra.
Yes.
Motion carried.
all right, we'll move on to city manager report, and then we can go into closed session to talk about the Shea Park property line issue. Phil, we have received notice from FEMA finally after 2 years that they accepted our spillway mitigation work. So that means all the properties that we anticipated we would remove from the flood zone have been or will be removed in the latest rendition of the FEMA floodplain map. So the next step is the planning commission and council have to approve some resolutions and adopt some regulations, just affirming that we have floodplain regulations, and we'll see those in the next couple of months. We have 6 months to do those, but we'll do them soon here. For our skate park, a generous donor has committed to donating $100,000 to the skate park once we reach $100,000. So we're almost at $70,000, I believe, right, Rachel? We're just under. So $30,000 more and we'll get a $100,000 match. So that's good news. We're moving along there.
Is there a time limit on that matching offer?
Rachel?
We'd like to do the project at the end of summer 2022. But
The
if,
commitment to the matching funds doesn't have.
oh, no, there's no,
That is a generous.
yes, yeah.
This is not the NPR countdown.
No, I mean, no, that's great.
Get one.
Sometimes when you have an offer like that, but you gotta do it now.
Oh, and this week's windstorms, they did cause just some minor damage, some downed trees and some local power outages. We didn't, in the city itself, get hit as bad as some of the other places and townships and counties in the state, so that's good news. Yeah, but our electric guys did do a lot of good work, and so did our DPW guys. They put a lot of effort into that, cleaning up. So I had a few meetings, MPPA meetings, had a couple meetings with the traffic paid parking experts, professionals. So I'm planning on bringing that discussion to council on January 17th, council meeting. Also had a CCE 911 meeting and had a Northern Michigan Managers Lunch in January. That's all I have for that.
That's all.
Any other questions about happened the past 2 weeks? So I guess before we go to old closed session, maybe new or old business, yeah.
Just one thing, is there any way, because of what's been going on with the boardwalk and this other committee and things like that, is there any way to corral them and get them to not blow this project up before we really get started with a direction on it?
It's not my decision to make. They're a separate entity.
I'm just wondering, I mean, because
I'm not,
they're kind of going above and beyond things right now. We still haven't got things in the works. So I just wondered if there's anything we could do before, because sooner or later, they're gonna, step on somebody's toes and it's gonna end up hurting us rather than helping. Especially when I'm reaching out to some people and then finding out that they're also calling the same people and they got no reason to be calling people, asking questions and doing things.
You mean like contractors?
Yeah.
People like that.
Engineers, different things like that. I mean, they shouldn't be reaching out to people. That's what goes on here. So I'm just wondering. Is all. If there's anything we can do, or if it's just gonna be the way it is, and once we get a game plan, then we go forward with it, so.
say it's just the way it is. I don't think we can interfere.
In control. Independent group, independent things. So it'll be, okay, that's it. Good.
Motion to go into closed session.
Okay. Who gets the lucky job of adopting this, but we would need a motion from a city council.
Thanks, everybody.
To meet in closed session under section 8E of the Open Meetings Act, specifically to consult the city attorney, trial or settlement strategy in connection with the pending Demer litigation on the ground that an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the settlement or litigating strategy of the city.
Matt Fugera, John Leo, Al Mecca, John Cox, Nancy Rondell, Eric closed session.
You guys have any questions about our school resource out there, just give me a buzz. I'll keep you updated too. So
Big Tyler needs some muscle up there.
I think he's the one that wants it, so.
Really?
Yeah, I think he'd be good.
Hey, Fred.
Yeah. Big one. Yeah. Him and I are actually gonna meet after this, talk about it. He has some questions. I don't know, he just has some questions, but thank you. It's like, I mean, I never thought about it, you know, and all